Hi, everybody. I'm Dr. Brandi Maynard. Welcome to the session, My Child is Gifted, Parenting with Infinite Unity. I'm so glad that you could be here today. Now, I wanted to first off say that this is not my first rodeo. I want to introduce myself. This is a picture of me when I was probably about in third grade. I still have the wild hair, just depending on the day and how hot it is and the humidity, but I'm experienced. I've been around for a while. I've been working with gifted and talented kids since 1996, brick and mortar 1996 to 2002, and then I went online working with gifted and talented kids and starting the first online gifted and talented program, one of the first, I believe, in the United States, at least in the network that I was working in at the time. I'm a parent of gifted children. I've got some gifted kiddos of my own. This is my family. They're a little camera shy, and so I don't get pictures like this often, and they weren't very happy about the wild and crazy pants, but that's who their mom is, so they kind of just have to deal with it. Highly creative, gifted woman myself. And Pele, the volcano goddess, a boy that I absolutely adore out of the San Francisco or San Diego area. He and I used to have one-on-one sessions when I was his teacher, and this was when I was teaching kindergarten through 8th grade. And every Wednesday we would have our one-on-one sessions, and this boy loved helping me. He also loved talking about disasters, but when we weren't talking about disasters like tsunamis and earthquakes and tornadoes, we were talking about Dr. B's very best Halloween costume. What was I going to be for Halloween? And so he was just sure I had to be Pele, the volcano goddess from Hawaii. And he showed me a picture. He said I looked just like her. And with a few little tweaks, we were able to pull this costume off. And so it's all about relationship with kids. It's about relationship with your own children, and it's about relationship with the children that are in your classroom. So your children's teachers. And that's what we're going to talk about today, helping to form and really make that relationship strong. So we're going to begin with just a little bit of fun here, and it's agree or disagree. So I want you to think about this, and it'll be the first thing that comes to your mind, and you can strongly agree, disagree, or strongly disagree. So giftedness is hereditary. Where do you fall on the spectrum? Do you strongly agree, disagree, or strongly disagree? The answer is true. And I actually came across a couple pictures from a dear mom in IUGC. We have our own gifted community. I'll tell you about it in a little bit, but she's got some twins in the community. And she said to me, there's nothing about the twins that are alike other than the fact that they shared the womb and they live in the same house. Everything is about them is different. And so they are going into 4th grade. And this is little Ty. And the mom got to bring both children out on a hike, and she got to do it on separate days, which was something that she doesn't get to do often, but she's so glad that she got to on this day because she really got to see their personalities shine. And with gifted kids, these are two highly gifted kids. You've got Ty, and he was looking at the water and watching the water and making some very distinct predictions about what was going to happen. He was looking at the stability of each rock before he stepped on the next one as he was moving forward on the path, just to make sure that he was going to be safe and everything was going to be fine. So his sister, on the other hand, was within 3 minutes inside of the river, swimming upstream to see if it could be done fully clothed. They're different. And you'll see that with gifted kids. They are more alike than they are different, as well as gifted people. And Sky and Ty, even though their names are similar, they share the same home, they share the womb, and they're very, very different. I've taught both of them, so I can attest to that, and mom can attest to that too. But with gifted kids and with families, generally kids are within 5 points of one another on an IQ test, and also within 5 to 10 points of one another with a parent and a grandparent as well. So yes, giftedness is hereditary. Agree or disagree? Gifted students may not learn anything new in school until January or February. And the answer is true. That is right. So when you look at this bell curve over here on the right, you see students that are really have high needs, special ed high needs over here on the left. And then it goes up, and we've got our average students, which is about 100 IQ of about 100. And then you'll go down IQ of about 120, 130, and then you've got the outliers over here. So you've got teachers that are teaching right here to the middle. And if you've got an average third grader or fourth grader, they're doing great in this class. They're learning new things every single day. But if you have a gifted and talented student, they already have the information mastered. Generally, with these kids, they learn things with 1 or 2 repetitions. And a teacher who's teaching in a classroom is written for kids who are average. So really it's 8 to 15 repetitions is how often she's mentioning that information. And so a child could really, quite honestly, stay home until January and February when new material is introduced to students. So that can be very frustrating. Sometimes you might see rage at home where kids are holding it together all day long because that's what you're supposed to do. And when they get home, it's just and they just are all over the place because they can't be still and be holding it together anymore. And so it's frustrating. And that's where you're going to begin to see those oversensitivities that Dabrowski talks about, because kids already have them, the sensual overexcitabilities, the physical overexcitabilities. There's so many, there's 5 different ones. And kids are already exhibiting those at home and oftentimes at school, but those things get exhibited when they don't have the outlets they need at school because teachers are being forced really to teach to the middle because that's what their classroom is comprised of. And quite honestly, they don't have the training. And we'll talk about that one here in just a minute. Agree or disagree? Students must be committed to tasks to be truly gifted. This is what Renzulli said back in 1978. This can be a little bit controversial, but let me explain it to you. When you're talking about giftedness, you're talking about the synergy that happens right here in the middle. So you have the above average ability, you've got the creativity, and then you've got the task commitment down here on the bottom. And yes, students need to be committed to a task. They don't necessarily need to be committed to the homework task that a teacher brings forward in areas that they already know. And quite honestly, a lot of them are probably checked out to those things, but they have to be committed to some kind of task that they're interested in and involved in some way. And that's really important for them to have that task commitment. And that's what Renzulli will tell you when he's talking about task commitment. Agree or disagree? All students deserve to learn new things every single day. And I think all of us can agree that all students deserve to learn new things every day. Hi, Liz, I'm really glad that you're able to make it today. And we have students that are coming into us and they oftentimes, like I mentioned earlier, 8 to 15 repetitions is what an average teacher is teaching to when we've got gifted kids who learn things after 1 to 2 repetitions. And so they're not learning new things every single day. And that leads to frustration. It leads to tears. It leads to rage. They're holding it together all day long. When they get home, they drop it all at your feet because they don't have those new opportunities to learn. And sometimes when they're learning with 1 to 2 repetitions, you're thinking, where did this child get this? I didn't teach this to this child. And they seem to have gotten it, but they just do. It's the way that their brain works and the way that they are wired. So that is definitely true. The next one, agree or disagree. Gifted kids prefer older peers and spending time with adults. If you're comfortable, Alyssa, coming on camera, I would love to know what you think. Gifted kids prefer to be with older peers and spending time with adults, and feel free to put it into the chat too. Do you agree or disagree? If you've been around them for any period of time, that is absolutely true. I've worked with gifted kids since 1996, and oftentimes on the playground, they would gravitate towards me. They would gravitate towards older peers. They gravitate towards older cousins, oftentimes want to be at the adult table when you put them at the kid table because they're having all those conversations. It's absolutely true. They definitely want to be with older people because those are the people that get them. They're looking and searching for those intellectual peers. kids and other people who get them, people they can have conversations with. Now, this doesn't mean that they are adults, because they're still into Pokemon, they're still into Minecraft. And if you're a parent who has a kid who likes Pokemon and Minecraft, it can be overwhelming when we hear these things again and again and again. But they do have those social and emotional needs that are at their age level, but they also want to be talking to people and connecting with people at that higher level as well. So that's absolutely true. Agree or disagree? Our culture is not always kind to individuals who behave a little bit differently. And here's a great quote. Our culture is not always kind to individuals who behave a little differently. Thus, even when they're not associated with negative behaviors or disorders, overexcitabilities may be seen just as strange, which may be devastating to a child. So those overexcitabilities that I mentioned earlier, where maybe they have the tag on the back of their shirt that's bothering them, or their shoes are too tight, or the socks are scrunched up, or they have averse smells or tastes, all of those oversensitivities that gifted kids oftentimes experience, people look at them and it just seems strange. And so that's not looked upon kindly in our culture, which oftentimes will put off other children, which will alienate gifted kids. And again, their intellectual peers and others who get them. Agree or disagree? Gifted kids get frustrated when things don't come easy. And the answer is true. Oftentimes you'll see that rage. And it's interesting because sometimes teachers will say, your child is a perfect angel in the classroom. You think, what in the world? You can't even imagine the things that I'm seeing at home. But what's happening is they're holding all of that in during the day, and then all of it is coming out after 3 o'clock when they get home, because that's their safe space. But yes, that is absolutely true, that they're getting frustrated when things don't come easy. And one thing that I tell parents is be that Jiminy Cricket voice on their shoulder and talk them through hard things, because they're going to come up upon hard things when they're 18, 19, and 20. Even my son, who's in driver's ed right now at 16, is learning. Today, we just practiced parallel parking. It's not easy. And so helping them to practice things now when they're smaller, so that when they have to deal with it later, and then doing that voice, that speak aloud, that talk aloud is what teachers call it, being that voice on their shoulder, that will really help when they're older to get through those things that are hard and difficult. Agree or disagree? I seem to be the only one in parent groups talking about gifted issues. And is this true for you? Alyssa, is this true for you?
Yes.
Yes. And it's true for a lot of parents too, because oftentimes we're talking and we're inside of these parent groups, and parents are talking about things, and you're like, that's not my kid. And in your mind, you're thinking, okay, I've got social issues, I've got emotional issues, I've got academic issues. And parents are thinking, wow, you've got it so easy. Your kid is so smart, so bright. You're thinking, you don't have a clue at the hard things that I'm experiencing. Have you experienced that, Alyssa?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so true. So true. And it's so devastating at times too, because as parents, it's like we need to find our own tribe, those people who get us and those people who understand us, because we're dealing with things that other people aren't dealing with, especially when we're talking about a bell curve and we're looking at kids who are on the far end of the spectrum. We wouldn't dream of not providing special education services to the kids on the left-hand side of our bell curve. We don't think twice about not providing to kids on the right-hand side of the spectrum. And we're dealing with the same issues. It's just the opposite side of the spectrum. The need is just as high. So I'm here today to talk with you about infinite unity parenting. Stop me at any time if you have any questions as we go along. And I am recording this session. I'm going to use it a little bit later on, but I do want to go through some of these things just so you can understand what I'm talking about when I'm talking about infinite unity parenting. And today we're really focusing on parenting to become an ally and come alongside our students, our children, and to help them to write a letter to their teacher. So we'll get to that point at the end, and then I'll turn off the recording and answer any questions that you have. So when I talk about infinite unity parenting, I wrote my dissertation around what it takes to be a basically, when you're working with gifted kids as a teacher, what does it take to help them through independent study? What are the characteristics of an awesome teacher? And when I got into the research, I really found that an awesome teacher is a servant leader. They fall under all of the categories of being aware, promoting healing and empathy, taking time to really nurture their time, talent, and resources, being able to see the big picture and the small picture. There are 10 different characteristics. And when I started looking at that, I began to triangulate the data and realized, wow, this isn't just teaching, this is parenting. And oftentimes it's happening up in boardrooms and in corporate America. We're really talking about and shouting from the rooftops about servant leadership, but really we should be shouting from our own rooftops in our homes about servant leadership in the homes. And it came down to 5 different characteristics that I really found work. And one is becoming your children's ally. So walking alongside them, adapting to their needs. So making sure that their academic needs are met, building an architecture, a learning environment that works for them at home and at school, aggregating the resources, so pulling in the best human, print, and digital resources, and finally promoting agency so that they're not living in your basement when they're 25 years old. And so when we're talking about becoming an ally, we're talking about nurturing those positive relationships with their schools, their coaches, and other adults in their life. So we want to become an ally, one with our kids, but also with the grown-ups in their life to help them to be able to be that individual that really makes a difference. Because really, to become successful, a child only needs one important ally in their life. Somebody, usually other than a parent, it can be a parent, but one other person that's really going to breathe life into them. And for my own son, it was a teacher named Mrs. Shaw. She was phenomenal, a phenomenal teacher, and made such a difference in his life. And who is that for your child? Think about that. Who is it for your child, and who is it in their life, a grown-up that's really going to make a difference? It can be a grandparent, an aunt, an uncle. It could be somebody in the school system. And again, it can also be a parent as well. So this is Margot, and Margot is that one person in my life, and she is my mentor. She's my ally. She's the one that walks alongside me. And back in 1997, I met Margot. In 1996, I started teaching Gifted and Talented, and I started in November of that year. In January, I signed up for classes because I got into those classes. I'd only taken 2 Gifted and Talented classes at the time. And generally with gifted teachers, take one class on special education. And inside of that class, they have one chapter, and usually it's called exceptionality. They have one chapter that's really geared towards gifted and talented education. And it's usually taught by a special education teacher that really doesn't know what she's talking about. That was my experience anyway. I think it's like the experience of a lot of people. So they get into classrooms, and you have a percentage of gifted students. We really don't know what that percentage is, or I think really it's a made up thing, because how would we know where, is it a certain WISC score? Is it a COGAT score? Is it the Renzulli's model? We don't really know what giftedness is, and we don't really know how to measure it, to put a specific number on it. Is it 2%? Is it 6%? Is it 10%? What we do know is that 6% of our students in the United States are being served. We also know that generally our rural kids, even though they're gifted, aren't being served, and our students of color are being underserved. So how do we kind of match all of that up? So I started with Margot back in 1997 when I realized I really need to learn how to teach gifted kids, because I had a classroom full of them. I had 80 of them at the time. I was working with 15 every day. And so she came alongside me, and I said, I want to do what you do, because at the time she was a speaker and national and international speaker in gifted and talented education. And she worked with parents and teachers. And I said, that's what I want to do. How do I do that? And I was pretty young at the time. I was in my mid-20s. And she said, well, you're pretty young. You need credibility. You can either write a book or you can go back and get your PhD. So I went back and I got my PhD. And that's how I came up with these infinite unity strategies that I came up with. And, it's interesting because I asked myself these questions as a parent, and these are questions too that Margot asks me, because she really helps to mentor me as a parent. Do you want to become a thought partner with your child? to really, be that yin and that yang, and sometimes be that devil's advocate, but really help to thought partner with them to take them to the next level? Do you want to show them that you believe in them even when they don't believe in themselves? Because there are going to come times as they're walking along this journey that they don't believe in themselves. And generally it's through puberty and through those middle years. And how do you help to get them through those middle years up through high school and then to be able to fly once they get out? And do you want to be able to anticipate their needs and have the intuition to turn the learning over to your child? And again, to promote that agency, like we talked about earlier. And this quote comes from Margot's husband, and it's how little the authentic time for a maximum return. It doesn't take much time. Margot and I meet on Thursdays. Every Thursday we sit in this lovely, I'm going to show you one more time, this lovely porch. Her and I sit here on this lovely porch and have these great conversations, but it takes so little authentic time with adults and with kids for a maximum return. If I get a handwritten note from another, like a dear friend of mine, it means the world. And it probably took her 3 minutes to write the note and then to, drop it in the mail and send it off. But to me, it means the world. And think about little, small, authentic things that you can do with your own child to have that kind of maximum return. And here's one of mine. So generally when I have these sessions, I share stories, and today I'm going to share my own. And this is my youngest child. And there are just two things that I want to talk with you about with him. And the first is to celebrate and to be part of those I have faith in you moments. There are moments where you have to just sit back and say, buddy, I have faith in you. Parallel parking, I had faith in him today. Watching him do his motorcycle riding, I have faith in him. He is a boy mom. I'm a boy mom. And I don't know if all boy moms experience this, but for me, it's constantly watch me, mom, watch me, mom. And he's pretty much of a showman, and he loves to drive and ride his motorcycle, and he rides it pretty quickly, his dirt bike. And when he rides it, my palms just sweat, and I have to watch him go over these jumps and things that he does. And he's been doing it since he was 3, and he's had very few crashes, but it's difficult to watch sometimes. But just having those I have faith in you moments and being present for the things that are important to him, whatever they are. If it's Pokemon, if it's Minecraft, if it's Barbies, if it's the instrument that they're playing, or the dirt bike that they're riding, or learning to ride a bike, or being part of those, things that are happening at school. It's really being part of those moments, being present in that moment.
I'm watching a video.
This one is me, Mr. Jensen, and I'm going to share this one. If you don't mind going on mute, because there might be some noise, I'm going to go on to this one right now, and I'm going to share it. It's a little bit emotional, and so just know that that might be the case, but let me pull it up here really quick, and I think you're really going to like it. So let me make it full screen, and it's called Be Mr. Jensen. Here we go.
I have a lot of memories from when I was a child. One that's always stuck out to me, though, was when I was about 10 years old, and I was in school, and I struggled. And I didn't struggle with English, math, or science. I struggled holding still. And I would try to listen and focus and process ideas, but I couldn't help myself. And to be honest, I would sit there and then I would just start tapping. And the students in the class would look at me and they'd say, hey, stop tapping. A lot of the time, I didn't even realize I was doing it. And then eventually even the teachers got after me and they would yell at me and they'd say, Clint, you have to stop tapping. It got so bad that I got sent to the principal's office for tapping. And he said to me, okay, maybe when you go back to class, just try sitting on your hands. And so I did. I went back to class, and when I felt myself starting to tap, I did this. I sat on my hands. And that worked for about 5 seconds. One time I was tapping in class, and my teacher, Mr. Jensen, he looked at me and he yelled. And he said, Clint, stay after class. And I thought to myself, this is it. I am done. Now, I've always been the type of person that believes that a single moment in time can change a person's life. And this was one of those moments for me. And I will never forget it. And so I was sitting there with Mr. Jensen and an empty classroom. And he walked past me and he sat next to his desk and he said, Clint, come here. I want to talk to you. And as he looked me right in the eye, he said, now I need you to know something. You're not in trouble. But I do have just one question. that I have to ask you. And he said, have you ever thought about playing the drums? And in that moment, Mr. Jensen, he leaned back and he opened the top drawer of his desk. And he reached in and he pulled out my very first pair of drumsticks. And he held them in his hands and he looked at me and he said, hey, Clint, you're not a problem. I think you're a drummer. From that moment on, I've never put those sticks down. I've toured, recorded, and played drums all over the world. My whole college education was paid for with drumsticks in my hand. Just because of a single moment in time when somebody believed in me and he saw something in me that I didn't even see within myself. And from that moment, I learned that there's a difference between being the best in the world and being the best for the world.
I just love that video. There's a difference between being the best in the world and being the best for the world. And Mr. Jensen, I'm going to go back here to share this with you, but Mr. Jensen is really, for him, he sees those kids. He sees them for who they are, but not only for who they are, but who they can be and where they're headed. We get back into the sharing screen here and let me present. And you can probably, I'm hoping you can point back to a specific teacher either that you had or that your child had that was like a Mr. Jensen. And I mentioned mine earlier, it was Miss Shaw for my youngest, and she was absolutely phenomenal. She was like a Mr. Jensen. She saw him and she knew him for who he was. But Mr. Jensen was able to notice the strengths and the weaknesses in each child. And really what I want to all of us to do, oftentimes people say to me, but Brandi, what about those weaknesses? Because I will stand from the rooftops and I will say, teach to the strengths, find out what those students are really, really good at, like this Clint, and teach to the strengths. And they say, what about the weaknesses? And I say, shore up the weaknesses, get them where they need to be, and then take your time and really take those strengths to the top. Because if we nurture those strengths and we can help them become who they were meant to be. I was never meant to be a singer. Even if I had the 10,000 hours that they say I'm supposed to have, I will never be a Faith Hill or a Beyonce, ever. But if you give me those 10,000 hours and I spend that time and I have on public speaking, I can just get better and better and better because it's a natural gift and a natural talent that I already have. And that's what we need to do with our students and our children. We need to make sure that we're giving them the time to nurture those strengths, shore up the weaknesses, and then to nurture those strengths. So you're here today. We talked about writing a letter to your child's teacher. I have a template for you to make it easy, but I want to introduce you to this idea of introducing your child's teacher to your anything but ordinary child, your extraordinary child. And some of you may have already had an opportunity to go into Renzulli Learning and take a look at Renzulli Learning. And I wanted just to let you know a few of these things, and then we're going to go in and take a look at the template. But Renzulli Learning is a place that you can go where it gives you a profile of your child. It's only $5 to sign up for a year. I'll go in and take you in there and show you around a little bit what the profile looks like. But your teacher wants to know your child. And we actually even call them our kids. And so by the end of the year, oftentimes we love them and we'll call them our kids, our class, our kids, because we do love them. And the Renzulli profiler is a treasure trove. Your teacher will use what their learning styles are, and how they like to show what they know. And so another way to look at this is what they like to know, how they like to learn it, and then what they like to do to show that they know it. So it's content, process, and product. There's different ways to look at it. And we're going to use a template to help you speak from the heart and be able to write this letter to your child's teacher. So let me show you how to get there. And if you need to leave, no worries. This will be recorded, so you can always come back and watch this. And what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to put a link into the chat area. So in case you want to open this up and do this with me, you definitely can. And I will follow up with an email at the end, so everybody has this as well. But here's the link that we're going to go to now. And it's infiniteunity.group.app courses, and the course that we're going to go to is Ally. So let me go ahead and pull this up. And here it is right now. I'm just going to hit enter. And we have, when I say we, I've started a community, and it's called the Infinite Unity Gifted Community. And this is our portal of how we get into our community and the different kinds of things that are offered in our community. We have courses, we have a library with content, we have different events that we offer twice a month. We can message one another. There are people in the community, they can talk to one another. It's a parent community is what it is. You're going to have access to this specific lesson inside of the community. So once you get inside here, and it's infiniteunity.group.app, and then it's /courses/ally. Once you get inside of here, this is the course that we're talking about right now. And I'm actually going to use the recording from this session, and I'm going to put it up here so other people can take a look at it. And so there'll be about 40 minutes of this content that we've just gone through. Plus, you can come down here and there's some more information. So my friend Margot that I mentioned earlier, my ally, my Margarita, my special little my friend that's also my mentor, she did a TED Talk. There's also a woman named Rita Pearson that did a TED Talk that says every child deserves a champion. And I would say they deserve a champion, but they also deserve an ally. And then the video that we just watched, Be Mr. Jensen, you can link to that here. So what I'd like to show you though is the letter template. So if you scroll down here to the middle, you'll see it's blue, and we're just going to click it open. This is the letter template that you can use when you're talking, when you want to write a letter to your child's teacher. It's opening up right now inside of Google Docs. So what you're going to do is you'll go to File and make a copy, and you'll open it up inside of your own Google Doc. And you can do that. You don't have to do that now. You can do it later, but I just wanted to let you know that's the next step. And if you get confused on what the next steps are, they're right down here at the very bottom. These are the directions of everything that you need to do down here. All right, so once you come up here, this is the letter, and you'll see everything in yellow. This needs to be replaced with some information. And so you'll replace it with your child's first and last name. It's saying a little bit about your family. So you're going to give a brief overview of your family, and you'll put in here that, it's your greatest desire for Ren, that's my child, to reach their fullest potential in your classroom. And I know my child more than anyone, and you know education, so I'm certain together that we're going to make a great team. And so the letter goes on. But I want to show you, once you get inside of Renzulli Learning, this is what's going to help you write this letter. So you're going to have this information first, and then you'll be able to put this into a letter. If you just want to cut and paste, I'm thinking it'll probably take you less than 5 minutes to put in the information here and print it out. 5 minutes if you were to do that. If you wanted to take a little longer and personalize it, you can do that. And it might take 20 minutes to, personalize it and put it inside of a card. What some people do, a lot of people, is they take this letter and they print this letter once they've personalized it. And then they might just get a card and sign their name, something that says, cheers to a great year, maybe slide in, a Amazon gift card or a gift card to a local Starbucks or something nice. Some kids like to bring a fresh, bouquet of wildflowers to their teacher the first day of school. Whatever it is that you want to do to personalize it would be great. But let me show you how Renzulli Learning works. So let me pull up my Renzulli Learning account here. Let me show you if you haven't done this yet, this is Renzulli Learning. You're going to want to go to the home edition if you have not yet gotten the profiler. And you don't have to get the profiler, but it's a really good value. It's $5 for a subscription for an entire year. It's one of the resources I always recommend to my Infinite Unity Gifted Community families. And so you will be charged for $5 for a year, and then you can log in. But I'm going to come back and I'm going to log into my account just so you can see what I'm talking about when I talk about this profiler tool. So I'm going to log in as a student. And then once you log in, what's going to happen with your child is if they're in primary school, so kindergarten through third grade, even pre-K through third grade, they will get a profiler with smiley faces on it. So we did a little exercise at the beginning where you could agree to disagree. They'll have like a big giant smiley face, a smiley face with, just straight across, and then a frowny face. And it might be something like, I like to watch movies. A big smiley face, not so much, or no, I don't like movies at all. Or I really like to play sports. And so what it's going to do is it's going to find out who your child is. What are their interest areas? What are their learning styles? And how do they like to show what they know? And once they do that, and the test takes about 30 minutes. With the older kids, it'll be more of a Likert scale where I really, really like it to, it goes from I really like it to I really don't like it. So it's the same type of questions, but they're written at a higher level. And somebody asked me just at our last session last week, can a parent do this? Absolutely. If you want to subscribe and do this on your own, it would be really good information for you as well. So let me come in here and I will show you what the profiler tool looks like. So here's the Renzulli Learning. Here's the profiler tool. Here is my profile. So we'll go down and take just a peek into mine. So here are my interest areas, my 3 interest areas. And it shows my first one is business. And it says here that she seems to show an interest in organizing or starting a business or assuming a leadership role and working with people, such as stage managing a play or becoming editor of the yearbook. Okay, so I was all of these things in high school. I own my own business now, Gifted Resources. I started my own community. I love connecting people and bringing people together, and my PhDs in leadership studies. So yes, this has absolutely nailed me. Interest in science. I would say I'm more interested, not so much in science, but I'm really interested in asking questions. Like I ask a lot of questions and wonder why a lot. So that's probably where the science came in, and the technology. Absolutely. I'm a tech geek when it comes to anything technology. So this would make sense for me. The next one is how I prefer to learn through simulations, independent study, and discussions. Absolutely. All 3 are true. And then the final is how I like to show what I know. Oral presentations, doing something with technology, or some kind of service learning or giving back to a community. This nails me to the T. So what you would do then is you would go up here to printable copy, and then you would print this out and you would put this inside of your letter, because you can use this to start personalizing your letter. You can say just some of the things that I said about starting my own business. If your child is, maybe her favorite thing is business as well. She's been running lemonade stands since she was 3 years old. She's been part of the Alex Lemonade Stand campaign, whatever it is that she's interested in. Or if it comes down to technology, she loves, or he loves technology. Either way, Pokemon Go combines their love of Pokemon with technology, and we've been doing that together as a family. So you can really personalize that letter using this as well. Let me show you the other thing that it does. Not only does it do the profiler, but it allows you to search up all sorts of different things. So if you go down here to enrichment activities, it has books, creativity training. You can see all of the different things. I love personally the virtual field trips. Kids can go to the top of Mount Spokane, the top of Mount Everest if they'd like to. They can explore Mars. They can go to a virtual Statue of Liberty tour. They can go and see what the koala at the San Diego Zoo is doing right now. This has so many really, really fun things that kids can do. And all of these things are teacher vetted. So it's not just kids, just some random wild sites that are out there. These are actually teacher vetted materials that have been created by teachers for students and for kids. Smithsonian, there's all sorts of things. And this is just one area. The cool part is my results will be completely different than your results based on your profiler tool. And so if you go to Google, and both of us typed in that we were interested in science, my results for science are going to be more business oriented, more technology oriented, more artsy perhaps than somebody else who might have gotten something more athletic or more science driven or more literary. Maybe they're more into books. Their results are going to be completely different. They're also going to be different based on a child's age level. So the information that comes out to them is going to be based on their grade. And then it's going to be based on their interest areas as well as how they like to learn. So this is a fantastic tool. And again, it's only $5 for an entire year. They've taken it. It was $15. They took it down for COVID. Some schools do have this program in their schools, but I would definitely recommend it. And it's called Renzulli Learning. It's out of Yukon. And Joe Renzulli, I call him the father of gifted education. He was the one that was the brains at getting this started. It came from 25 years of research around school-wide enrichment model. They basically took this program, this idea of school-wide enrichment model that they used with gifted kids, and they put it online. The total talent portfolio is basically the profiler tool, and then pulling up all of these things are the type 1, 2, and 3 activities. And so they have it all packaged here nice and neatly for you as a gifted parent to consume with your kids. So I'm going to come back here really quick, and I will answer any questions that you might have at the end. I do want to come back to the presentation, share a couple more things with you, and then I will turn off the recording and answer any questions that you might have. So when we talked earlier just about next steps. So if you want to get results with your children, here are some of your next steps. And the first one, again, is to write that letter, because your teacher wants to know your student. Make the letter special, print out the reports that you have from the Renzulli profiler, print out the template that I gave you, personalize it. If you want to put it inside of a card with a little note, maybe a gift card inside of there, a little bouquet of flowers, whatever you want to do to make that first day of school special for your teacher as well as your child would be great. And the results of this are parenting for infinite potential, because that's what we want to do. And I have short-term results and longer-term results. So if you want immediate short-term results, really, these are some things we talked about earlier. Being the one, it only takes one person to help a child succeed, help them find their person. And so it can be a person from your family. It can be a parent or a grandparent, an aunt or an uncle. It can be another grown-up from school. It can be a coach. It can be a church leader. One person that's really going to breathe in to your child. That's what you want. And then you also want to give them that authentic time to notice their unique brilliance. Now, remember, with that authentic time, it doesn't take much. It just takes a little bit of authentic time for maximum results. The key is authentic time for maximum results. So make sure that you're being very authentic with your kids, getting in, doing things that they love to do, and giving them that time and attention, and believing in them, even when they don't believe in themselves. Those middle years are tough. They can be really tough. So really believing in them, and to help them to be the voice on their shoulder, to give them that positive self-talk. All of those are very important things. And then finally, to write a letter to your child's teacher. And the next thing is I've created more of a long-term results plan. So if you want to take it to the next step, this was a short class. We've been together for about 45 minutes now. I have a class with 2 more hours of content. And inside of that class, it's content rich. I have videos. All of it is video based, similar to this. The videos are short, from 4 to 10 minutes each. And there's also PDF content. So what I've done is I've taken my dissertation content and I've written a story for you there that's written in a PDF, and it's meant to engage you. And it talks about a day in the life of a servant teacher. And you can take that idea of servant leadership, and I did it in the classroom of what it would look like. Think about what it would look like at home. How would you serve your kids, and what that would look like at home? These are never before seen videos. The videos that I have here have never been released on YouTube. They're all things that I've done just for this course. And if you want to follow me, my YouTube link, if you just go to Brandi YouTube, and you can just, go to Google and type in Brandi Maynard, PhD, you'll find my YouTube channel. I've got lots of free videos there. These are just never before seen videos, so check those out too. These are all newly designed resources as well. I've got something in there called the Wheel of Choice, and what it is it's a tool where I've taken that profiler tool and I've turned it into a homework tool for your child, where they can turn these different wheels, and you can help them to create new homework assignments based on things that would be engaging to them, based on things that will engage them because it's a strength area of theirs. And then finally, practical advice for parenting. So there are practical strategies throughout this course, and you can reach your goals much faster by going through this course. And the course is $97. And if you register for this course, you'll also get free registration to the next live session if you purchase before the end of the month. So if you purchase this $97 course, you'll get the next session, which is all about being adaptable. You'll get that free registration to that short session that we'll be doing, very similar to this one that you just went through. The last thing I wanted to share with you is we also have a IUGC community. IUGC stands for Infinite Unity Gifted Community. And I've got a couple parents that have said to me, Brandi, I came to the community thinking it was something I was going to do for my child. I did not realize it was something that I needed for myself. And so becoming part of the community, you're with other intellectual peers who get it, who get you, where you can share things, we can get emotional together because we're dealing with things that other parents just don't get. And there's really not a safe place that we can talk about those things. And we get together twice a month and we have support and resources. We have opportunities for sharing as well as opportunities for learning. And I am the host of this community and do those live sessions, lead those live sessions with a group of highly interactive parents that are also involved. You'll have access to the online community. That's the community I shared with you earlier with the different resources and the people that are there as well. So we've got people from all over the United States and into the Caribbean. And so if you've got parents, we have parents that are Caribbean family actually just came over and met up with some parents across the United States when they came over so that the kids could meet face to face, which was a lot of fun. And then support when things get tough, because things do get tough, especially those middle years. And it's an opportunity for you to reach your goals faster with our team. And the cost of that is $59 a month or $588 annually, which is $49 a month. So those are just a couple things that we've got available. If you want to ask any questions at all, I'll be here to answer any questions that you might have. You can check this out at www.giftedresources.com. And I will be here for as long as it takes if anybody has any questions at all. Thank you so much for your time and attention. Thank you for coming. I really appreciate it. I am going to push stop on the record. And if anyone has any questions, I'll be here as long as it takes to answer those. Take care. Have a great day, and I'll talk with you soon. Bye for now. Oh, you're so welcome. Thank you so much for coming.